This is the Best or Worst podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Koji Stephen Sakai and M. Martin Mapoma.
Please don't ask me about my best.
Oh, wow. Right out the gate.
Okay. Welcome. This is Koji.
And this is Martin.
And this is the Best or Worst podcast. And this is episode 84. Our society is so focused on celebrity, we sometimes forget that regular people lead interesting lives too. Best or worst moment of your life. Hosts Koji Stephen Sakai, that's me. And M. Martin Mapoma.
That's me.
Are here to let your story out. We put people on the spot. What are you going to hear? It could be funny. It could be poignant. It could be sad. You'll know when we know. Best or Worst is a twice weekly podcast. On Tuesdays, we get to know our guests, which was 2 days ago. And we found out a great story about going to Denny's. And on Thursdays, we find out about their best or worst moment. And so Tim was already on last week, or last couple days ago. So if you want to find out more about Tim, please tune into that episode 83. But since we're here today, we want to, and we know Tim has a couple auditions later today. We need to get him off the show so he could go get some money. So
Get that
Tim,
paper.
what? Or let me ask Martin. Martin, what? Which one do you want? Tim's already kind of.
Well,
said one.
yeah. So, I mean,
I tipped the scales. I know. I'm
Tip
sorry.
the scales. It's okay.
well, I don't understand why you don't want to. I'm not going to. He's the guest. I'm not going to go again. I think I'm going to. I'm going to be a little avant-garde here. And I'm going to go with this worst.
But well, Tim, you wanted your best moment, right? Is that the moment you wanted?
No, he doesn't want his best moment.
I don't.
I'm just kidding.
I don't understand why that would be a bad thing.
Well, so Tim, let's hear your.
I just don't. I don't know. I feel like I think it's always kind of weird sometimes to describe about your best moments, especially if they're very. Well, you guys talk about like don't make it generic. Don't talk about like the birth of your kid or blah 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 blah. And then as an actor, I also think it's a little bit weird to talk about my career. So but at the same time, then I'm like, okay, so if I don't have any of those and I don't have any of the generic stuff, like I kind of don't have a lot to offer.
No, but as an actor though, I think that's one of the areas as an actor too. It's like it's our profession. It's what we do. It
Right.
shouldn't be. I don't think it should be any different. Our best should be any different than anybody else's.
Well,
That's
but the
supposed
idea
to be
being
my
that,
take on it.
that it's not like career wise. I mean, it's right. Like you're looking at like something other than career wise, right? What's some of your best moments? But let's hear your worst moment. I'd love to hear your worst moment. So since that's
So I've had some pretty dark moments, but I think one and I'll kind of give you a caveat. This is probably not like my absolute worst, but this is something this is a moment that's really kind of stuck with me, just because of how weird it made me feel. So this was back in 2006. We talked about how I went to UCLA, and in 2006 it was the NCAA men's basketball finals, UCLA versus Florida, right? And it had been some time since UCLA got to the finals. We had a really good team, but Florida had a really good team, and they had the size. Anyway, me and my friends went to go to a bar in Santa Monica, it's UCLA territory, to go watch this game. We went to Yankee Doodles on 3rd Street Promenade, and we're there. We're just having some beers, whatever, and it's clear UCLA's not doing well. But the bar is full of UCLA fans, and there's like a sprinkling of like Florida fans there. Eventually, the game ends. UCLA loses. A lot of people are really salty, and then there's this one guy who's a Florida fan who is just gloating. He's really gloating, and he's just being an obnoxious asshole, and he's super drunk. He's kind of slurring, and he's just kind of being weird. And I have to mention, because it's important to the story, that this guy is a large black man. Okay, he's maybe like 6'5", maybe about 240. But unbeknownst to me,
wait, how tall are you? Just because you're pretty tall.
so I'm 6'3",
Okay.
and I'm around this time. I'm probably around 200.
Okay. You're not a small dude. You're not like me.
I'm not small.
Yeah.
But so unbeknownst to me, my friends actually kind of flick him off because he's talking so much shit. And then he looks in what I think he's looking at me, and he says, "Fuck you, go back to Vietnam." And I was like, this guy just got racial on me. And I'm, I didn't really have any ill will towards him other than the fact that he was just being a cocky bastard. But then he got racial on me. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? And I thought, okay, I have to call this out because, we talk about superheroes. I think it's my duty to kind of confront racism wherever it is. So I said, did you just tell me to go back to Vietnam? He's like, yeah. Like, I'm not from Vietnam. I'm from here. He's like, I don't care. And he said, your friend was flicking me off. I was like, so that's when I found out. Like, okay, but that has nothing to do with Vietnam. What is your problem with me? And so he came up to me and, he tried to start a fight. Now, this whole time, I was still seated in my chair. And I could see that the whole bar was really watching what was going on. It was a bar full of UCLA fans who kind of felt terrorized. And, and the thing is, because they were UCLA fans, there was kind of a small majority of Asian Americans, but there were some Africans, because on the UCLA team, there was like a couple of African players, like Luke Richard Mute, and I forget who else, but they had their fans, and they were fucking pissed at this guy too. But I kind of felt like there was a rising tension between Black people and Asians, and we were all kind of aware of this, so I kind of felt the need to like stand up for the Asian people who wouldn't speak up. But I didn't want to attack this guy based on his race. But it was clear that that's kind of what he was going for, just from, already talking about going back to Vietnam. And I needed to find a way to stand up for myself, but not only myself, but for the other Asian people in the room who felt like they were being bullied, and not get reverse racial or whatever. And it was a really tricky situation. But I also knew, because I've been in enough of these situations, as soon as I stand up and push back, the security is going to come and we might even go to jail because of, how shit goes down in Santa Monica. They really don't tolerate this, very well. But so the guy comes up to me and he starts literally taking his finger and pushing my face with it. And I was getting really pissed. He says, come on, let's go outside. I'll fuck you up. I'll fuck you up. And I'm just like, don't stand up. Don't stand up because you're going to go to jail. But at that moment, I thought, fuck. I can see if I don't stand up, everyone in this bar who's not Asian is going to be like, see, you can pick on the Asian people. You can totally pick on the Asian people and they won't do shit. But if I stand up, I'm going to hit this guy and I'll probably get my ass beat, even though I'm not afraid. And I'm not a small person. I'll fucking take it. I'll take that beating. But I also end up in jail after I get my ass beat. So what the fuck do I do? And then I let it break. I broke a little bit. I said, okay, tough guy, you're so tough. Why don't you go get your gun and then shoot me? And he got pissed because then I started getting racial with him. And so at that moment, he backed up and he grabbed a bottle and he threw it at me. And as soon as that happened, everybody swarmed us, both of us. And they did it to protect both of us. They didn't attack him, but they knew like there's only one way this could go down. And we got lucky because, my friend stepped in, and a bunch of other UCLA people stepped in, and then his friends came and stepped in, and they kind of broke it up. But I just remember thinking like, man, there is no way to win this situation. And I just remember thinking, and it didn't need to be this way. It didn't need to be this way because we're both expressing products of a larger problem, you know? And it just sucks that we're kind of pitted against each other in this way because of whatever inherited racism involved, you know? But it really, really pissed me off because I couldn't think of like, what was the right thing to do, you know? So that's just kind of the moment that it really stuck with me. Because it you know, it was something where it was a test of like, what do you do in these racially charged, and I think that's kind of one of the few instances where racially charged feels appropriate as opposed to just like racist, because it wasn't like it was like the power dynamic was vertical, you know what I'm saying? It was like we're kind of, for better or for worse, like two minorities going at each other, just maybe expressing whatever angst that we have against our vertical frustration. But what was the thing, you know, I always think about like, what was the right thing to do? I don't know.
Wait, so did you get arrested at the end? Or no.
No.
You got separated.
No.
Okay.
We got separated right before I threw a punch, or right before anybody, you know. And
wow.
It was, you know.
Do you think back to that moment a lot and think about how you would do things differently? Would you do anything differently?
And that's the thing. I don't know exactly what I would do differently, because
I think you handled it pretty well. I'm actually, you know, I'm pretty impressed because I think you handled it the right way. I think that you just confronting him about that, you know, because that stereotype, I've heard that stereotype play out a lot, you know, and I think, and Koji and I've had that conversation as well, that, you know, the Asian dudes will do nothing, you know, if you fuck with them, which is crazy. And I've heard a lot of idiots, you know, people that I don't consider friends, you know, who are, you know, I'm from Africa, Zambia, Africa. And the whole dynamic between Africans and African Americans, that's a whole nother story.
Right.
But, you know, I've heard that sentiment raised, and I wasn't raised with those kind of stereotypes at all, you know, but, you know, from my standpoint, having seen that, and I've seen that happen before, dude, and it's kind of awful. And it's, anyway, it's a long story, but I think you did the right thing, because I can pretty much guarantee that guy walked away, and later on his friends were like, dude, that dude's, you know, whether or not you stood up or not, the fact that you were able to get to him and get that guy to throw a bottle at you means that you got to him. And plus he's drunk, and you know, when someone's drunk, there's just no winning in that situation, you know. But I think you did the right thing, especially by not throwing a punch. The fact that you could get to him without throwing a punch is, I think, you know, that's kudos to you. Because you know, I think he expected you to launch yourself at him when he's like, go back to Vietnam. And you know,
Right.
you're like,
what a weird thing to say to somebody anyway. Vietnam is such a weird.
Dude, I've heard, but you know, because you've heard that, you know, one of my buddies, you know,
go back to China. Go back to China.
Yeah.
It makes more sense. I mean, go back to Vietnam. Like, go back to Cambodia. Like, it's such a like. I mean,
so specific.
Yeah, it's a very specific like.
Yeah,
because,
it's like, wait, Vietnam? How old are you, dude? Was he young?
The Vietnam
How
War
old
hasn't
is this guy?
happened. Like, hasn't
No,
happened.
I mean, he was probably 25.
Yeah, so we're not talking about like somebody from the Vietnam War who was like fighting. I mean,
yeah, you could have said, wait, what country? And he'd be like, oh.
No, they don't care. Nobody cares.
You know.
But have you heard one of, you know, your story actually was making me think of, there's this Instagram account called Asians with Attitude. I don't know if you've seen it. It's run by this guy, this rapper from New York City. But anyway, his whole thing is that like a lot of Asian Americans do back down, right? And the whole thing is like his like he wants Asians to stand up for themselves. And so, you know, like and do what you did, like not back down. Like you don't have to like go fight them, but not back down. You know what I mean? Like not to like look like you don't know what you're doing, but like So all his videos or all the videos on there are like the grandma fighting back, or, like the Asian grandma fighting back, or like the dude on the street who confronts the whoever it is.
Did he post the one of that dude in San Francisco that was getting harassed and just turn around and beat the crap out of him on the street?
Those are the kinds of videos that he.
I've seen a lot of those. Or
they did a protest here in LA. I don't know if you saw it. I think it was Orange County actually, but their neighbors were saying racist things toward this Asian family, and then they closed down the block and had a block party with all the neighbors, and they were calling out this family for being like racist against their Asian neighbors, and they're just like, and the family had to like leave for a while because everyone was getting pissed at them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, this
see, that's cool. That's the way to do it nowadays.
Yeah. People don't like being called out on their racism like that. One or two people hear about it, they're like, whatever. But when a whole community gets together and goes, yeah, you're kind of a fuckhead, that's when they start. You have to shed light on these people. You really do. I found it to be the best, way to get back at them in a lot of ways, or just expose them, like what you said. I'm not from Vietnam. I'm sure he was like, there's no comeback for that. Go back to Vietnam. I'm not from Vietnam. I'm from here.
Even if you're Vietnamese, it doesn't, or if you're
right.
No, I know, but I'm playing into his own stupidity.
Yeah.
I've gotten to go back to Africa, and I'm like, okay, which country in Africa? And they look at me like, what? Somebody said, what? You said,
wait,
you can
is
go
there
back
more
to
than
Africa.
one country? Is there more than one country in Africa?
Yeah, go back to Africa. I said, and I've always said, okay, go back to Europe, go back to South America. What country in Africa do you want me to go back to? And that always, it's easy to stump stupidity like that. I think you did.
But I do think like part of it is just they're just going with like the lowest hanging fruit.
That's always what it is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
although I must say, I wouldn't have been mad if you knocked that dude out.
I would have loved to. I don't think it would have been possible. That guy was huge, and I think, and that's part of the situation was like if he was just like a normal person, he probably wouldn't have like created that sense of terror, But
he was that big. Huh?
He was big. He was muscular. He was probably a former athlete. I mean, he was real. I knew, like, just doing the math. I was like, I don't think, but this guy's bigger, and he'll probably knock me out.
Wow. You could do like, Coach, what was that movie? One that Matthew McConaughey played the guy who trolled the high schools for girls. Oh my God, Dazed and Confused, where Anthony Rapp's character. Adam Goldberg's character has a whole theory that he's gonna fight this guy who's bullying him. He's like, you know what? There's gonna be people around, and he's gonna say something, and I'm gonna say something back. And I'm thinking, I'll get in one punch. He might get in one. They're gonna separate us. And then when it comes to that, he's just getting the shit kicked out of him because no one steps in.
Right.
You remember that movie? No, just me.
I remember.
God, I'm old. Have you ever seen that movie, Tim? Dazed and Confused?
No, you know what? I have not actually.
Yeah. How old are you, Tim?
I'm 40.
I
know. I should have seen it.
It was around that time,
but it was just one of those that I missed.
Yeah, that was one of Matthew McConaughey's best movies. I didn't even realize it was him, but yeah. Anyway, so.
But interesting.
I think you handled it well, dude. There's so many scenarios to that one. I think you did a great job on it. And I gotta tell you though, man, because I would have probably died because, you can say whatever you want to me, but the minute you touch me, and for me, it's my face. When you put your hands on my face, I don't care how big somebody is. I've learned my lesson. I just lose it. Just putting your. Oh my God, yeah. So when you said that he was just poking your face, I was like, how is he not killing this guy?
I love your calculations though. I think that those kinds of calculations are what happen. Like the last time I had such a calculation, I remember I was on a bus in the Dash downtown, and this crazy guy was harassing this woman in the back of the bus and just being really rude. And I was like, okay, if he touches her, I have to stop this. But he never touched her. Right. Then he came up to me and started going in my face, and then he threw a drink at me, and I was just like,
I'm gonna kill him, right?
I was like, I gotta kill this guy. But then I was like, well, what if he bites me? Like, or what if like,
right?
What if he does, like, what if he, yeah, like, what if he does something crazy because he's already not stable? I just like, and I just got a drink on me. It's not worth. I could kill this guy, but I don't want to. Like, it's not worth
Fucking
it.
Dead, fucking dead, Koji. Good bit.
Well, but plus, like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just it's not like he didn't physically hurt me. He didn't physically hurt me, so it's not worth it. But it's funny because when I was a kid, I would have fought. That would have been a fight thing. But
Yeah.
nowadays, like,
Yeah, no, as a kid, I'm sure I would have already thrown the punch, you know. But part of growing up is learning that, like, okay, you can't solve everything that way.
yeah,
I just thought, but that might have been the solution to this situation, whether I wanted to or not. Whether I thought it was best for me, and that I think that's part of the problem is I don't know if it was best for me. But I always have the regret of maybe I should have done it for my people, which is a weird concept to have, right? Do I stand up and throw a punch and get my ass beat for my people? I don't know. Is that what a hero does?
but at the same time, I mean, of all the people, I mean, you're much taller and bigger than most of.
And that's the thing. That's
Yeah,
why
man,
it's like
not
I
tiny.
should be the one to do it because no one else is going to.
Of all the people, you're the one that people would vote for.
Wow, he probably picked the biggest, right? Yeah, like, hey, you're the biggest one around here. You're probably the biggest, dude.
Because a lot of times it's because we're like, 'cause I get that because I'm not like short, but I'm like not tall either. I'm like 5'9.5", 5'10", and so it happens because people think that I'm not gonna fight back, especially like in high school, or college and shit. But like I think that it's funny because you're like a bigger dude. And so, like, of all the Asians that pick on, it's usually like the loser. It's like not a loser. I shouldn't say loser. It's like the little nerdy Asian dude who's like just looks like kind of like he's geek. Like
I think Koji just cast you in his action movie, his Asian superhero movie.
Well, I mean, but no, I mean, honestly, because that's why I've always when I've always wanted to work with you about it because I see like most people think of Asian people as like me. But in reality, like there's also like there's all different kinds of Asian people, including like people that could be heroic, that are bigger, not like just and not like buff, but like just like a bigger dude, right? Like
yeah, physically taller.
So funny because to me, to me, one of the greatest superheroes in my book, real life superheroes. Bruce Lee was what 5'7"?
Yeah, he was short.
Yeah, he was short,
but super muscular, but 5'7", dude. And it's funny how these morons have these stereotypes about Asian dudes not fighting back, and I'm like, but yet at the same time they'll go home and have a poster of Bruce Lee on their wall like he's their hero. You think that's the craziness of it all. All these guys that say this stuff to you. You mentioned Bruce Lee, they're like, oh man.
Yeah, but it goes both ways. Like Asian guys who like talk shit about black people, then they love Tupac or something. You're just like, what?
Right, that's true. That's so true.
You're like, what are you talking? You
yeah.
get to Snoop
and this is something that Koji and I always talk about. I've always been amazed at the whole racism against black people from Asian people. It's always it doesn't stun me anymore. But when it first started happening, I was like, wait, what?
It goes both ways, though, right? I mean, I think
it does.
Tim's right in that it's like there's like a bottom of the barrel thing where like people of color, they're being pit against each other because we're like we're fighting for scraps a lot of times, and that's what pisses me off.
Basically, yeah.
When black people against Asians or Asians against Latinos or whatever, it's always like, dude, why are we fighting each other? we're minorities within a minority,
Yeah, the Asian Latino thing, I found out about that when I started dating, Chinese girl. It was funny because she was like, well, at least you're not Asian, Latino. And I was like, what? And then that's when I found that was a thing. And I was like, wait, better to be with me than someone Latino? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, I do not understand that.
Oh,
that wasn't her thing. Not her thinking, but her mom's thinking, which I just was like,
which is even weirder because they're both like a culture of immigrants, right?
Yeah,
with deep family ties. So you would think that they'd be equal, almost.
Yeah,
like, oh, we love the Latinos because they're just like us.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. But man, when I was like, wait, so
although I think it depends on your group because I mean I think African Americans would for some groups wouldn't be higher than Latinos. I think it just depends on who you're talking to. Because I know,
say that again.
Like I think like it depends on who you're talking to because I mean African Americans would be low on that totem pole too for a lot of.
No, that's what God, it sounds horrible for me to say this, but that's what I kind of thought. So when she said that, I was like, wait.
Yeah, but I think it depends.
We went up a rung?
Yeah, but it depends. It just depends on the group because there's some like amongst like people in San Marino, for example, that would probably not be the case. But I don't know. People are crazy. Maybe people are better now. But thank you, Tim, for coming on. We really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys.
I love hearing.
Tim,
thank
you for standing up for your people, dude. Thank you.
All right, thank you for saying that to me.
That bar should have a plaque on the wall. The day that we stood up.
This is not the Independence Day.
No, like
actually,
Bruce Lee in Fist of Fury. We are not sick men.
Oh yeah,
remember
that's
that?
right. Yeah, dogs.
Oh, so you've seen that one, right? You've seen that one, right?
Well, yeah, I've seen Fist of Fury. Yeah.
God, I can quote that
What were you
whole
gonna say,
movie.
Tim?
Yeah.
No, I just think like so. One of the other things I remember about the story was I was expecting the wait staff and the security guards to step in way earlier.
Nah, dude,
And-
they're
and-
pussies, dude.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I was like, okay, because I've been in that situation before, where it's like a guy's talking shit, blah blah blah. And one time, I just looked at the security guard and was like, "I'll handle this." You know, the security guards were cool. This time, they were like, "Whatever, you know, this is gonna be interesting to watch." And then
because they knew
we'll
they
call the
probably
cops
catch
afterwards.
they probably knew they'd probably catch a wayward fist from that dude, and no one wants to do that.
Yeah,
The way you described that guy, they were like,
yeah. But
There's
then
some
when they
people-
finally closed down, I was doing a little jig. I was dancing. I was like, "Yeah, you suck my ass, Yankee Doodles."
All right.
wow.
On that note, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Martin. And thank you for listening.
Yeah,
listening
and
and-
I want to apologize for getting on late. Like I said, we had a construction drama
Yeah, no
here
problem.
going on. So
Please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast, and please tell a friend about it. And thank you guys, and thank you all.
Dazing the Fuse, Tim. You got to watch it.
I will.
All right. Bye.
All right.
All right.